It's preparing. Okay. We are live. I want to make sure that everyone can hear us on YouTube first. So I'm going to wait as people start to join and just make sure that they can hear us. Hold on. Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you guys give me a thumbs up that you can hear us? I just want to make sure I can hear you. Okay. Thumbs up. I just need to make sure. Okay. Perfect. Yay. Okay, great. So excited to be here with you guys. Come on in. I'm going to close this up. Hold on a sec. Sounds good on YouTube. Perfect. Okay. All right. As you guys come in, just let us know where you're from. Say hello to each other. Say hello to us. And okay, I guess we could just get going and get started. Give me one more second. Okay. All right. Welcome everybody, and welcome Damien. Thanks for jumping on today. So before we begin, you guys, I want to just kind of briefly describe why I decided to do this YouTube live with Damien Wynne. I met Damien in November, and he has assisted me in healing some really intense trauma in my body, as well as a lot of other things in the past, I don't know, 7-8 months. He's a miraculous healer. And I've done a couple of YouTube videos with him. We did stuff on other topics. And we connected the other day around DNA clearing and what's happening with our DNA right now, what's always been happening with our DNA, but really what's going on in this current environment. And he was telling me that he was going to be doing a webinar. I was going to perhaps do the webinar with him, but decided to just do a YouTube live instead, introduce what he's doing this Sunday and the following Sunday, and also introducing you guys to him. And so without further ado, I want to let Damien introduce himself, tell you a little bit about who he is, and then we're going to go into what DNA clearing is and why I feel this is so important right now, and why I've decided to bring Damien in and talk about this, because I really do believe this is a really important part of our evolution. I think it's a gift to be able to have access to our DNA in this way. And Damien really is somebody that knows how to work with DNA and clear it, heal it, activate it, et cetera, et cetera. So without further ado, my beautiful friend Damien, give us a little quick background who you are.
Thank you, Lorie, and it's always an honor and always fun actually to connect with you. So thank you for supporting actually the work, and I want to honor the great work you're doing and what an inspiration you are to so many of us. And yeah, it's been really a journey the last 2 years especially, and you've really supported so many people. So I want to honor your work. It's so important and so yeah, inspirational. So who am I? Good question. I'm asking myself that every day.
Who are you today?
Yeah, exactly. In this moment in time. I sort of let that one go a long time ago. But I was just thinking about it. Wow, it's the age of 30. Yeah, about 22 years ago, I started really going on this journey, and I was guided on it. And immediately what popped up first actually was DNA. And I started to see the DNA strands and where they were out of the heart frequency, so to speak. It's like where there was trauma in it or where there was belief systems in it from the ancestral lines. And then I start being guided by spirit on how to realign the DNA. And over the years, different techniques, different ways of doing it, I've been teaching it around the world, and different systems of how to work with the body, how to work with trauma was coming in. And then I was teaching this. And what I realized was that, well, spirit was saying, okay, Damien, you have a lot of trauma in your body. Your job in this life at this moment is to clear the cellular information within your cells and your physical aspect. I didn't know why at that time, but now I realize why. Because the work that I'm being guided to do is about embodiment. And that's cellular embodiment. So I've been working over the last 22 years continuously on my entire body, bone structure, cellular information, organs, eyes, everything to embody. And I realized that in the early days, I was working more, I couldn't get into the body fully. So I was getting results out of the body on the soul level, spiritual levels, but I wasn't getting them in my physical life until the point where I started finding the keys on how to get back into the body and how to clear the trauma within the physical aspect, within the cellular information. Because if you imagine the universe is in your cell, and then if you're not trusting to get into your cell or not actually sitting in the cell as spirit, then the system's out of balance. So I've been working over the years to embody cellularly, and I had many different webinars. I do webinars and connect with groups and single sessions in really helping people to embody and seeing what's out of alignment. It's almost like I was showing, when I work with somebody or work with a group, I see where the systems, where the spirit, the whole being is, and then what is keeping them out of the vehicle, what is keeping them out of this physical aspect, and to bring somebody down into the system. The DNA came in very, very strong. I did already a DNA embodiment. This one is different again. It felt like that was a preparation for this one. And this is where, for me, I feel like creation on a cellular level and how we thrive, like our natural blueprint of creation or the God code or what source or whatever you want to call it, is to thrive and to be supported by creation around us, by the field around us, in total flow and resonance of pure love, of spirit inside us and around us. And we're here to thrive. And what keeps us out of that is where there's toxicity in the system, and that could be emotional trauma from the ancestral line, genetic memory fields passed on, past lives. It could be from the epigenetic field around us, toxicity, or what we've been programmed or manipulated. So food, the makeup industry, cosmetic industry, many different fields which can take the system out of balance. And when I start working specifically with stem cells and the cells, I realized how much they're programmable, that really we have full capacity to heal ourselves completely. And if there's a belief system in the way of that, or I've given my power to an authority which says my health cannot heal unless I do this or unless I take that, then my belief system will be so strong to that authority that I won't trust in my creator inside me. And that's what I found a lot when I was working with heavy illness as well, that the hardest part sometimes was not the illness, but the point where the person can really trust in their core creator and their own immune system and their own ability to heal oneself and to let go of the other mindsets. But the mindsets have been programmed in us for generations and generations, and they're in the DNA. So in this webinar, what I want to do is I want to really connect to who we are, our whole being. I've even stopped saying higher self because the higher self creates this separation in the system. So I say whole being now, because the whole being is in the cells, the whole being is in the body, and the whole being is flowing in life, in creation, because we're more than this physical body, and physical body will die at some stage, but spirit never dies. And we're always in this journey of creation. So in this webinar, what I perceive is, for example, if you imagine the DNA codes, when I start working with the DNA, I realize there's outer strands which are much more, like they're huge, and they really flow, and they've got so many different vibrations, different coding in it, that I feel the human aspect is not aware of these outer layers that are really out there. And we haven't got there yet to be able to measure them maybe, or to sense them. Or we've been sort of numbed down from connecting to them. So what I've been guided to do is to reactivate them, first to embody into the DNA, and then open up those strands again and these connections again with the higher fields, the greater being. For example, like when I'm working with somebody holding space, I know Damien is only getting probably 8% at the most, or 10% of actually what's happening. That's all I need to know. But the spirit is doing, source is doing the work, that knows. So if you look at science, man is altering certain parts of the DNA, and we don't know the whole effect, because each change has a ripple effect in all the strands. It's almost like a watch, the old style Swiss watch, that one cog out of place affects how the whole mechanism works. So in this DNA, I'll be going back to the blueprint of who we are, which is pure creation, and activating that blueprint on a cellular DNA level. And any alteration which is not totally in resonance with creation, I'll open up the field that it goes back into that resonance again and opens those strands again.
Amazing. So I have a question. Okay, when it comes to that outer, because the webinar is working with that outer layer of the DNA, right? The outer layer of that DNA I want you to describe a little bit more in layman terms, what for me personally, or anybody that's listening to this, what may have affected, or why is this something that I need to pay attention to, like, how is this going to benefit me, or what has impacted? Two questions. What has impacted that outer layer, that film on the outside of the DNA, that I see it as these little these follicles almost, right? That are sort of vibrating off the DNA. What is clogging it, so to speak, or what has kind of clogged it in order for us to really access our full potential with our DNA? And why is this important? And before you answer that, I do want to share with everyone, when I was talking to Damien around this webinar, my guides gave me this analogy of a windshield of a car. Okay. And so I was seeing this as, and I'm not a DNA expert like Damien is, but I was seeing this as, it's this outer layer of the DNA, like a windshield of your car. Okay. And there's all this dirt that may fall on it from all these the external world, right? The outside world. And it gets kind of mucky and dirty, and it's more difficult to sort of see and drive and navigate the world. And all you have to do is kind of turn the little windshield wiper thing on, and the water comes, and then it starts to clear up. And then you have access to being in your car, driving with full potential as that driver. That's how I see this webinar from my lens. So I would love for you to describe a little bit what has kind of muddied, what is it that maybe have muddied the sort of outside layer of that DNA, and why is it so important right now?
Okay, I love that, by the way. It really matches it, and it's how I see it as well. It's interesting. I was working with someone's DNA during the week, and I actually saw it like that. I was like, wow, there's a lot of, it looked like mud or particles that were not in the right place. And then we start working, and then they start clearing and transforming to the right place. So to answer that, it's not only the outer layers, it's working on all the layers at once. So if you imagine like the full color spectrum open up through the etheric fields, okay, and these flow, okay, and some of them we're not aware of because maybe the pineal gland is choked up with fluoride or something, they're caked up, okay? So it means our sensory system is not fully turned on. Or if there's a wound in the system, it can knock the natural flow of the system out of balance. And when something goes out of balance, then disorder comes into the system. And it's almost like two magnetic fields that are in the right polarities where they don't touch. For me, that's if I look into the cells, there's electricity in the cells, this magnetism needs to be in the right polarity, the north-south poles, for example, and that opens up the chakra system and the cellular system. So first I would look at that to see what's out of balance. And then also quantum entanglement is very important. So if there's something out of balance, it means that I'll be like a magnet. For example, if there's an abuse in my system, or say an abuse. So I will quantum entangle with other people's abuse and build this up, and that will knock me more and more out of my resonance and out of my channel, out of my magnetic field, which is the core of my being. So when I'm in my center, for example, when you meditate and you're in your center, for me, it simply means that your magnets are in polarity. Like it's like the north-south pole, and you're aligned. You're aligned with your creator, and you're aligned with the universe in you and around you at the same time. So yeah, it's literally where we're out of balance. And if you align a cell or one strand of DNA, the whole system, and allow quantum entanglement into the system on the creator level, you'll notice that the field starts untangling and realigning. So that it's not about action, if you know what I mean. It's not about stepping in and pushing energies around you. It's about holding space with the heart frequency, because that is creation. In the universe, there's like the Big Bang, there's creation, but in that field, it looks like there's nothing, but actually there's other fields. There's other fields in there. So these fields, when they're in a heart frequency, start aligning and resetting all the system. So the body is one system. The medical system breaks it down, but if you disconnect through a trauma from your lower chakras, you're only working on some of your systems. So some of the car is working, but there's other parts not working. And then the illness pops up in the system, or a disconnection. So what it's doing is, in the webinar, it's bringing you back into alignment, total embody alignment. And then all the programming, there's a lot of mind control at the moment, is sort of released, because that's where you're not seeing yourself. That's where you can see the world and connect with the system, the truth in the system. So it's sort of bringing everything back into balance again, in a very smooth, very natural way, because our spirit has the blueprint. It knows the blueprint. It's like a phantom limb. If you lose your arm, there's a phantom limb there. It's the same in the DNA codes. There's a blueprint of our DNA as pure creation. So it's like if you bring that awareness in and you mirror the blueprint DNA with the actual DNA information that's there at the moment, and hold that space of love and compassion, then the DNA strands will start resetting itself, and the whole system will start untangling, and that works in you, and that will work around you. So it affects you, it affects everybody around you, and affects the whole life, your whole system, because you are creation on a cellular level.
And working with you, from my own experience, we don't do anything. Right, we sort of allow the energy and the consciousness and the frequency and we allow the body to do what it knows how to do, and you're sort of the conductor of that electrical system inside the body, feels like.
Absolutely. So what I've been guided by spirit was to embody myself, and then when we make a connection, just hold the space. I'm not doing anything, but the system already will go back into resonance. So what I've worked in myself, and we connect, we then go back into resonance. So it's given the possibility for you to go back into resonance, but you're doing it yourself. It looks very passive, or it looks maybe that I'm doing it, but I'm actually not. I've worked my system till it's in my own system, and then open a space that you will do it yourself. And the thing about the webinars, for example, when I'm working with people, you will leave feeling empowered, but not depowered. Like it's not passive, it's more surrendering.
Yeah.
Feminine, it's surrendering. It's really surrendering.
And also trusting that your body, that everything is energy, right? And it's not thought, right? It's not, I mean, there are beliefs, right? And so you do have to sort of watch the beliefs that do come up during any of this work that you do with you, that you would do with your webinar or whatever. But it's a surrendered act. It's an active surrendered state where you are participating, but you are trusting that there is a higher sort of consciousness that is doing the work sort of for you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I wanted to talk really quickly also about embodiment, because it was only when I really started working with you back in November that I really understood embodiment. I was like, oh, you mean I'm not in my body? I remember our first conversation, you were like, yeah, you're about 10% in your body. And I'm like, excuse me? What do you mean 10%? Like what? And it was in that moment where I realized that we are in our heads. And when you're in your head, you think you're in your body. You think you're embodied right? Because you're like, oh no, I'm looking out my eyes and I'm listening to my thoughts and I'm in my body. And it's different than embodiment. And I think that the key to this entire process, including healing, transforming, evolving, awakening, ascending, it is all about embodiment. It cannot happen without embodiment. Healing cannot happen without embodiment, right? Change can't happen without embodiment. So I would love for you to describe really briefly why embodiment is so important and how this webinar assists somebody to really move deeper into that space of embodiment.
Okay, so first of all, the space I hold that everything's possible, that a miracle, you can transform any amount of topics in any split moment. It's up to you. So I open up that space first of all, and because that is the universal, that's the potential of the universe. So it's only man, the human aspect, which creates the limitations, but there is no limitations when you drop into source and drop into creation. So everything can be transformed in a moment, or maybe you need more time and space. So embodiment is interesting. You say, feel your heart. People say, feel your heart, feel love, And I was like, no, that's, I would describe it as Hollywood love. I say, well, you're thinking what love should feel like, and then you're creating it, but that's not love. So I started the work that I was guided to do was more about feeling, sensing it in your vibratory system, and then teaching it, and then talking about it. So for me, it's important the way I work is sort of the reverse. So I will work in you feeling the system shifts in yourself, or feeling the systems, and then bring in the consciousness information, because that's a system, that's their systems. So with embodiment, it's very important. What I realized was that we are a vessel, and there is information in the vessel, and a spirit, we're here a spirit in the human aspect, to have the experience of remembering what's in our system and what qualities we have. So then we have got daily interactions which open up our old information. So for me, it's a gift every time someone triggers me, because I know that's an opportunity for more wholeness. I go more into wholeness each time someone triggers me, because I accept, wow, that information is just opened up. They've opened it. It belongs to a different time and space, so it's not really personal. What belongs between the two of us stays with us and gives us the opportunity to transform it. But I implode, I allow that information to go back into my system, back to the origin. And the other person's is their system information, which has nothing to do with me. Yes, I'm involved in it, but what's between us? So the way I realized was, it's almost like I was told by a friend of mine, she's amazing, and she said to me one day, she says, Damien, the universe is like a game, you need to know how the game works, and then the systems will work. And then over the years, I've been sort of given keys by the universe of how systems work. Everything's a system. And I realized that the word intention is how you enter a system, how you enter a cell, how systems come to you. And how in the field of creation is like the Fibonacci codes. It always brings you to a higher frequency, a higher state of being, a higher state of consciousness. And as we're in the human on this earth, We have free will. Do we accept that or not? All we do is accept to look away. The more I surrendered to that, I realized how incredible the intelligence of the universe is, that the universe designs every single interaction of every single day to support me to embody.
Yeah.
Every interaction. But the thing is, I've escaped from my body a lot of the time, or looked away, or say, no, it's okay. I don't want to look at that. It's not the right time. So it's my choice, my free will, to accept that experience as an experience for growth, or to put it away. But the field at the moment is bringing it back up immediately into my system, because that's the way the universe is at the moment. It's an incredible time for growth, incredible time for shifts. I've seen work that normally would take 10 years happened in a few minutes now. It's just amazing the level of embodiment. I've worked with people who've never had sessions, never worked on themselves, and they're getting totally embodied within one session. It's just amazing how spirit is supporting us to embody. So it looks like there's a lot of maybe negative things happening out there in the world at the moment. And what I know from spirit and from working with these fields is that if something opens in my system and it belongs to my system, I can handle it. Yeah. If it belongs to somebody else, I cannot handle it, because I've stepped into their information, which is unique for their soul blueprint. I can handle my soul blueprint and all the teachings that come to me related to that soul blueprint. Now, it feels maybe in the world at the moment that there's a lot of heavy things happening, and some people may feel like, oh, we're losing or we're giving up. No, if that's coming from the system, the system tells us that the light is stronger, the love is stronger, and we can rebalance the system again. So that's telling me how much support is in the system when we drop into spirit inside us, not outside us. So what I'm seeing in the field at the moment is systems that are creating fear and panic and anxieties, which take us out of our God code or God connection or creator connection, which is source. Because if you connect there, you realize, wow, it's a massive shift. It's a massive opportunity to embody, and all is good. I feel amazing. I feel good in my body. I feel whole. So this is a massive transformational time on this planet at the moment. And also the winter solstice or summer solstice is on Monday. So that's why I also picked that date. So it's a massive time for growth and transformation. And it is the time to embody your spirit, your potential. And what's happening is the work is stripping off the false selves that we created to keep mommy and daddy happy, which I created for my school, which I created to be in the treadmill going to the same job every day, or to make the money or the mortgage. All these false selves are being stripped off, because that is not you. That is not spirit. And the false selves are pre-programmed in the DNA genetic memory fields as well. So what this work is about, or embodiment about, for me, is stripping away the false selves. And it's not even stripping away, it's first acknowledge they're there, accept they're there. It's about acceptance and not pushing away, because the universe will untangle them for you. So first is accepting they're in the system. That's why the truth seekers at the moment are very important. They're key at the moment, because they're bringing up all the things, the shadow aspects we didn't want to look at. And at the same time, it's not to spiral into that field. It's to stay, it's like surfing, you know? You have to, okay, I see it. It's like what you were saying there, Lorie, about the mind when it activates, you know? Often my mind activates in sessions or webinars, because if the mind is active, for me, that's confirming there's a wound open in my system, which is ready to be transformed. So all I need to do is observe the mind. Nothing else, because I know that is ready to be transformed. I don't even have to know how to transform it. I simply accept my mind's active. Oh, there's a lot of wounds open. Cool, they're being transformed. Give space. Space is really important. And that's where the transformations really takes place, because the quantum entanglement of the universe will naturally untangle. It's like the sun and the moon when there's an eclipse, you know, when the shadow aspect, but the sun is behind and it's coming out, but we forget it sometimes. And the moon part is maybe where the fears are, the anxieties are, And then slowly, oh wow, it's there. Then I feel like giving up and it goes back again, or I don't want to have that big change. So it's like, it's continuously supporting us. But I love my shadow. I love my devil. I love my wounds, because that way it's going back into love. It's going back into resonance and not separation. So my fear of disease, my fear of, intimacy or whatever's in the system, I accept that present in my life. My fear that of scarcity, I may not be able to feed the kids, I may not be able to pay the bills, I may not be able to pay the mortgage. I accept. And when you accept, maybe, something comes up, and at the same time, there's a massive transformation. So every time we evolve, it opens systems.
Yeah.
Now, every time there's a growth, it doesn't mean that you're healed and we're whole for good and everything's going to be amazing. No, it means I've raised my resonance, and it also means I've gone deeper into my topics. So then it's about balance. So it's always important to create some space for yourself to balance the systems again. And then when you feel the balance, you feel that love connection, you feel everything's okay, you're not being triggered anymore. And that's where you won't be resonating with people triggering you. You'll be able to speak about a topic without it being separation. In the field at the moment, there's a lot of people creating separation, different against each other, in many different fields. So it's about separation. Separation creates separation in the DNA as well. So it's separating from our creator.
That's huge.
Okay, so it's very important, and it's very easy to spiral when you separate from creator. Then the brainstem, first of all, on the sides of the frontal lobe, panic loops. Okay, then it lodges in here, starts looping into old habits, goes down the spine, down to the lower chakras, and then you're out of your system and the spine collapses. The system collapses. Okay, and that's what's happening with the people in fear.
Wow.
So a very easy way, even just to clear it out, would be imagine that you're looking at the sunlight and connect to your heels and allow that light information to flow through the brain. And then that will start clearing the repetitive thoughts, because there's a lot of repetitive thoughts in the system. And then it works through the whole system and quantum entangles with that field. So that's what's happening when you're creating separation and fear. It's survival mode. It's the separation and scarcity. It's all about survival. So you'll decide, you'll go with somebody if they feel like they're going to save you, but it's not yourself. It's not your true self. It's not your creator, because this is really an opportunity for growth. And if you're really in your system, you realize that, we're eternal beings and we've nothing to fear. I will decide when I want to leave my body as a creator. And while I'm in it, I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to enjoy my body. I'm going to enjoy my life. And I'm going to get out and connect to nature and the environment. Sorry, Lorie, go ahead.
No, it's good. I love the way you go deeper into like how this all works. I think it's so important for us to courageously recognize that it's very possible that most of our life we have been pulled not only out of our bodies, but that there has been, sort of damage done to our DNA that has created this disassociation or distrust in ourselves, distrust in our body, distrust in I can actually heal instantaneously. I can release the pain in my body. I can come back into an empowered state. I think that one of the things that's occurring for humanity is that many of us are starting to open up and realize, oh, wow, there are a lot of things that have occurred in the external that has created these sort of false selves and illusionary states in me. And it's about now coming back home and realigning, becoming whole, like you spoke, embodying and really beginning to heal and no longer be in suffering, because I deeply believe that we are not designed to suffer in this world as humans. And we have been programmed to sort of live in these states that we have lived in for so long. And that's why your work is so amazing and so powerful, because it's an instantaneous healing. It's instantaneous if you are ready and you say yes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the universe only wants to love you. And because of these different systems, we stop the love. You know, it's amazing how we stop this love. And I remember I had an injury, and I remember when I sat in front of a stem cell specialist, you know, doctor, and he says to me, no problem, you'll be, you know, I've had people in wheelchairs walking, and my system was so triggered because I was told by the system that you may never walk again. So my system was like, who the hell does he think he is? He's got a God complex. This is impossible. Get out of here. And I could feel like I was sitting in the chair, and I had to hold myself down to stay in the room with him. And I knew, I just says, okay, I need to work this in my system before I go back the next day to him. And I had to sit with it that night, and I was watching myself. My system would not allow healing into my body, because I was told it was a chronic thing that would never heal, it'd only get worse. And that was not easy for me to clear, because my system had been programmed for generations to believe that if someone in a white coat told me something, that's God's talking to me.
Oh my God, I got goosebumps all over my body when you said that.
Don't question. And that was so engraved in my genetic system that I had so much protection. I was nearly like throwing this guy out of the room, get out of my face, like stop saying those things. And he was showing me x-rays, he was showing me videos and pictures of people who've healed and cured. And I was like, he was freaking me out. Instead of loving it and embracing it, my system was completely in rejection and fighting him, and like projecting like terrible things on, you know, it wasn't good. It was like, this guy's crazy. Who does he think he is? The same thing's happening with people talking the truth. It's the same thing. When you speak the truth and it's going against resonance with what you've been pre-programmed to, where you gave your power away, the system reacts, it shakes. And that needs to work. We need to work these systems, because it's not enough to say, oh, that's the truth, and then run out and tell the world screaming and shouting, because you're jumping from one frequency back into that frequency again. For me, there's abuse, and being abused is the same for the abuser, the perpetrator and the abuser is the same frequency. It's just on different scales, okay? So if you find a truth and you jump on the bandwagon and you're out there, yes, 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 I'm going to tell all my friends and my family, then you're on the same frequency and you're creating the same resonance in the field again. So for me, it's about going back into the center and sitting with it and working it in my system so deeply that there is no shaking or separation in my system. I'm in total acceptance. I don't have to agree. When I say acceptance, I don't have to agree with what I'm accepting, but I accept it's in the system right here, right now. So you go into presence. And when you go into presence, then you're in creation, and your creator will find the key for transformation. When you're in the mind, you're in the old information or the fear of the future, and you're recreating and spinning that field again. And you can see that with the, you know, the kids now have been programmed for video games and this type of thing. So they're creating that field of separation and separation and separation, because they've been numbed down. Society has been numbed down to separate from oneself and creating false selves, a lot of false selves. But if one becomes clear of it, aware of it, and looks into the system and brings that resonance into the field, then the false selves collapse.
Yeah, it's interesting when you were talking about the doctor and you kind of really resisting and fighting that. I just thought about how we argue for our limitations.
Yeah.
Right? We argue for our limitations, and it's an unconscious programming, like you said, that's in the DNA. And I think one of the most amazing pieces about your work is that if there's even an ounce of the human ready to let go of that limitation, even a tiny ounce, there is an opening for your work to kind of flush it out of the stem cells and the DNA and the cellular structure And it may take multiple times, right? It may take one time. But I mean, I worked with you once and it was like all my eating disorder stuff was gone after that, completely 1000% gone. But then there were other pieces that were still lingering, right? So it's really this interesting piece of like, what am I still arguing? What limitation am I still holding and arguing for? What do I still believe in some weird way I can't let go of yet? Because there is that piece as well. So it's interesting because you can miraculously, instantaneously heal anything.
Absolutely. And you may expose one false self, and then there's another one hiding behind that one, and then another one behind that one. But then they start working in the system. And that's why I was guided to create living recordings. I call them living recordings in the webinars, because the webinars are meant to be repeated and repeated, because they keep working deeper and deeper into your system and quantum untangling you from the old systems. And once you start this, even if you don't feel anything, I know in the beginning when I've received support from others, I wouldn't feel anything. And then days later, I'd notice that I've just shifted in some way in my life. So the universe, or the divine intelligence in us and around us, is like a living being of information. And what it's doing is it's giving you more information to your system. And then when your ego gets out of the way, when you're sleeping or when you let go, or when you're in the shower, when you go to the bathroom, then it pops into the system. It's like the great ideas come in when you're in the shower or in the bathroom, because you totally surrender. Or maybe you have this thing that I want to drive fast in the car or go horse riding really fast, because that's when you're letting your system connect to total presence.
So the webinar, the dates of the webinar, the times of the webinar, let us know that. I'm also going to put it down below in the YouTube, but just let's quickly talk about that as well.
Okay, I know. Well, nice to connect with everyone from all over the world. And it's so beautiful because when we make a shift in ourselves, it creates a ripple effect through the whole system. So I'm in Mykonos doing this, actually beside the island of light, Delos, where the twins were, Apollo, Artemis. And so I'm working from Athens time. So it's Greek time, 9 p.m. And I'll put all the times, that time will be on the website. The link is on my website, Damien, D-A-M-I-E-N, scroll, Wynne, W-Y-N-N-E.com. And all the information about the webinar and how to access the webinars there. Also, there's a lot of free webinars on my website and on my YouTube channel. If you want to sample and feel, does the work resonate with you or not? Or is it the right time for you? And you'll feel it yourself. So I invite you to check out some of the webinars. I never hold back. I'm always opening the system to share everything. And I've had children walk through the back of seminar rooms or walk in to see their parents. And then the parents say, oh my God, my child's doing exactly what you're doing, because their system was ready, was open, So
really quickly, I'm going to interrupt you because you just brought this just came in. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no problem.
Adolescents, teenagers, and 20 years or something, the kids, in my personal opinion right now, I think that children, adolescents, and early 20s are having a very challenging time with all of this massive programming, mind control, and fear. I'm not throwing that out there to kind of create that scenario. I really deeply believe it. And I think it's an underlying thing that's occurring that we're not really talking about. And so is this something that an adolescent could do, or somebody like, what is there an age where it's like, okay, that's not appropriate for that individual?
No, there's no age limits. A child is first of all, is a huge being, is a huge spirit. Okay. And I've worked with, it's amazing if I work with mothers who are pregnant, immediately the child pops up in the system and say, okay, work with this in my mom. I can see these topics in my mom. I don't want to have them. I don't need them. Clear them from my mom.
No way, really?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's the way it works. It's not the mom. The mom goes for a session and the child takes over and says, okay, this is what I want out of the system. So work on these topics. And then the topics pop up. So
I love that.
Children are huge creators. They chose the parents for different reasons. Often parents would bring children for sessions before in the past, and I'd say, okay, I want to work with the parents as well, because the parents the children are playing out the parents' topics. So yes, if the child spirit chooses to melt into the system, it will work on the child as well. And as I say, this is for any genetic manipulation which is taking place in the system on any level, which we will be working with to bring back into balance again and sovereignty on a DNA level. And so that's what the webinar is, this specific webinar is about. It's really going back to the natural blueprint of who we are as a creator. So we'll work on any age group.
Yeah, and it's for anyone and everyone. So it doesn't matter that you have a specific thing that you're coming there for. It's a universal experience. So it's very unique in how it works. But it's Sunday the 20th and Sunday the 27th, 9 p.m. Athens time, 7 p.m. London, 2 p.m. New York, and 11 a.m. California. And again, all of that will be down below.
Can I share one thing with you, Lorie?
That keep going. I'm not.
And this was the tree of life. I saw it like, if you imagine yourself the tree of life, but the tree of life is made of frequencies running through the tree all the way, like arteries and veins, okay? And that's the way we are. And that's what our whole being is when it's embodied. We are the tree of life with this natural, the trees are connected to each other, through the roots, through all the systems, to the heavens, to the earth. We're exactly the same. It's just some of them was frozen or turned off or we're not aware of them. So the webinar is about activating this in your system. It's not only about the DNA, it's activating sovereignty of all your being. It's full embodiment of the being, full being, your full being in total resonance of creation within inside you on all levels. So it's going to work on mindsets, programming, subconscious programming, brainwashing on all levels to really go back into true resonance of who you are as a creator, because this is the time to do it. And as I say, it's the summer solstice, so no better time to go back into your life joyfully as a creator, manifesting as a creator in total balance and harmony.
I love it. Yeah, it's the perfect time. This is why I wanted to really share this webinar right now, because it's our time to come home. It's our time to come back into wholeness. It's our time to remember who we are. It's our time to let go of illness and disease. It's our time to no longer be controlled, manipulated by fear, holding fear in our body, holding stress in our body, really starting to let go of all the limiting beliefs that we have, recognizing that it is all consciousness, it's all energy. At the end of the day, it is strictly energy, and that's how you work. That's what you do. And so you can't figure out how to do this work. We could sit and journal and read all the books, right, and do all the steps and do all the workshops and all that, and that's great, and it works, right? Or we can just go straight to the source, which is the cells, the DNA, the light codes, the consciousness,
and the crutches, absolutely, and the crutches, all the crutches in the system we're hanging on, in the schooling system, in the medical system, in the political, all these systems, these crutches are being kicked away. It's like, no, you can't trust, you can't trust, you can't trust. And it's like, where I gave my power away, where I gave everything away to the false selves. And they're all being stripped away at the moment. So it's like, it's beautiful, because it's the universe telling us, no, Damien, it's all in you. It's all in you. It's in you. It's your inner knowing. It's your inner knowing. It's your inner being. It's your inner connection with you as source, as creator, and creator around all of us, which is in every one of us. And we are all connected and interconnected in every way.
Yeah, and it's fascinating about DNA, because the DNA holds all of the codes. It holds our ascension, right? So meaning it holds I don't like to use these words, but I'll use the words just to describe it. But our DNA is designed to shift into these higher frequencies. It's designed to. It's designed to keep moving, to keep evolving. They're not designed to stay stagnant. They're not designed to stay in any sort of system of disease, illness, stress. It's not designed to do that. And so it needs assistance at times to sort of be let go, let loose, to breathe, to come back into alignment, like you say. And what is that is holding our DNA captive, so to speak, or what is suffocating the DNA? We as humans don't really know. And so when you come into these sort of sessions with you, it's like, oh, I don't have to do anything. I can allow my DNA to do what it's here to do, through your activations or whatever it is that you do. I don't even know what you do, right? But it's so magical that you're just like captivated by it, and boom, the body just shifts.
It's like the system of a flower. A flower is a flower. It doesn't know it's a flower. It just naturally evolves. And we're exactly the same. But if we think, what should I be if I'm that flower? What should, it's like, or that flower is better than me, or I'm better than, so it's like creating more separation. But actually, if we just simply melt back into pure creation and surrender into that, we are energetic beings, and we start manifesting into it immediately.
Yeah, I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
let me just quickly come over and check out all the people, see if there's any sort of question that might pop up. So again, this is a 2-part webinar series, Sunday, Sunday, June 20th and Sunday, June 27th, 9 p.m. Athens, 7 p.m. London, 2 p.m. New York, 11 a.m. California. All the links will be down below as soon as we end this. You can also, your website, Damien Wynne's website, will be up. I really, if this is resonating with you, I encourage you to follow that resonance, to follow what feels right. If you want to take a look at Damien's work, there's, like he said, there's free webinars that you can test out his work. But now, and continuing on is the time that we are here to really become deeply empowered and embodied, and really coming back into who we have always been designed to be. And this has always been the path, right? This remembrance of like, oh, so I had to go through all that trauma and all that crap. I had to go through all of that only to come back into where I originally started, right? It's like, you got to come all the way back in now, pull all these aspects of you, all the trauma, all the limiting beliefs, right? All of this stuff, to be who we have always been designed to be in human form, consciousness in human form. We are designed to be able to walk through this whole and not impacted by it.
And there are light codes as we clear this fear mechanism. The light codes drop into our system, and the new strands of DNA activate. There's a lot of new strands that is waiting to activate in the system when we come in total embodiment and resonance of spirit. And that's how we create this new planet. The Earth. It's like Lemuria and Atlantis. So we're going back full circle into those fields and remembering them. We forgot them, or we were in a trance, and now it's about remembering and allowing these codes, light codes, to manifest in our system, in this life system, not past, this life system. And where I left them behind in past lives, that can be resolved, so I can bring them into total embodiment and activate the system, which creates a new reality.
Yeah, because the new earth, or what everyone's calling new earth or whatever, it's already here. It's in us. It's ready for us. We just have to step into it, so to speak, right? We just have to move into it in order to receive it. So, right, there's like, it's not like you're going anywhere, or you have to do much. You just have to courageously surrender to what has always been you inside of you, and allow the larger version of you to show you how you're here to do it.
Yes, yeah. And have fun with it and give it space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you so much.
It's always great to connect with you, Lorie, and fun.
I want to see if there's any question really quickly. Is there extra dimensional DNA? I don't know what that means.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So that's why I was talking about the higher strands of DNA,
which
okay, have not come down yet.
Yeah. We have 12th dimensional
And there's so many of them coming down at the moment and being activated and going back into resonance. But the resonance is the heart frequency. And we need to accept love in ourselves first on a cellular level, DNA level. And when we accept that, then the whole system activates and drops in.
Yeah, right. As our body increases in frequency, the DNA that's holding that same frequency is going to get activated, pulled into the body, activated, off you go.
Like when I first did this work, sometimes my spirit would embody and I would jerk and shake and something that my spirit jumped back out because I wasn't in resonance with my spirit. Right. Because of the trauma in my system. So the trauma was not allowing my spirit to come in fully and to embody. So then I worked through the system. But you don't have to, when you find someone in resonance who's worked through those systems, it means they have keys in their system, which then can support you to transform it yourself.
Amazing. All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Damien, for jumping on and for doing all the work that you are one of the hardest working individuals I know, doing so much work, serving humanity in such a beautiful way. Like there really is this is the time that your work is really here to shine. So I want to thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us today or tonight, this morning, wherever you are on the earth. And again, everything all the information for the webinar will be linked down below as soon as we end this. So thanks everyone. See you next time.
Yes, thank you, Lorie, and thank you, everyone. Beautiful.
Bye. Hold on one second. Let me just clean.
Checking to see, make sure.